Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl.
That's
I
good.
mean it too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey football fans, welcome to the Washington Command Center. I'm super pumped that we have some real playoff hopes, but I'm also disappointed about this Giants game. I think it needs to be a wake-up call to what has been the real catalyst for this team's turnaround. The driving force for why we have the real playoff hopes. This game showed us what we need to do and who we need to lean on in this new era of Washington football, an era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. And what better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the first, the real, the OG Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. While you're at it, ring that bell, hit that like button. It's free to do, and it means a lot. Okay, so you read the title, and there is no way to say this without sounding like a hater, especially as the resident Carson Wentz stan. I know the title, the idea of this, completely flies in the face of all positional valuation in modern football analytics, but I think the fan base and even the media has completely misplaced the praise when they're talking about the turning point for this team. Now, I like Heineke. I love the plucky underdog story. But we went through it last year, and everyone, the team included, was done with it by the year's end. And they were more than thrilled to be moving on to a new quarterback. So I think the whole idea that the team's going out there and playing harder for Taylor, or that his grit somehow elevates the team, the idea that just doesn't work for me. I honestly believe the real turning point has been Brian Robinson Jr. I think it all started with his return in Week 5. And, that's when we saw the offense change up. That's when we figured out a real winning formula for this team. Now, it took a few games to get his feet under him, but this team has gotten stronger as he's gotten stronger. His story is one that has analysts outside the fan base arguing for a rookie to get comeback player of the year, even though he can't. So it's his grit that's really elevating this team. The coaching staff, already felt strongly about this guy coming out. So they took him in the third round. And that pick was tore apart by a lot of pundits and some of this fan base. But B-Rob came in the offseason and he dethroned a 1,000-yard rusher, and he was all set to be running back one at the beginning of the season. And then the unfortunate, occurrence happened. He got carjacked. He got shot. Well, it would have been easy for him to call it a season after that. But this dude healed up faster than Wolverine, rehabbed his ass off, and got back in the game in 5 weeks. Then, we get this crazy comeback story out of a rookie. But, the story wouldn't be worth a damn if he wasn't getting to the production he is. Now, like I said, he struggled early on, and he still hasn't got all of his explosion and power back. But he's out here making plays by sheer force of will. We've seen the ones where he carries 5-6 people, and it's raising the team around him. He is the elevating factor. Early on, when, he was struggling to get the yards, he couldn't get anything going, he was still inspiring enough that Carson Wentz, the damn quarterback, was throwing teeth-loosening blocks. Not just once. In his first game, did it against David Long. Carson Wentz went out there and went against one of the best linebackers toe-to-toe. Blasted David Long just so B-Rob could get going. Then, week 2, same thing against Roquan Smith, one of the top 5 linebackers in the league. It's the inspiration they are getting from Brian Robinson. Everybody wants to see this kid do good, and he's making good on it, and it's elevating everybody. Now, I know the quarterback position gets all the attention from the fans, but the players, the defense in particular, sees, Brian Robinson battling back from, what he's had to go through so far. And as he builds strength, those must-have chain-moving yards comes easier and easier. The gains get bigger and bigger. It keeps the defense off the field a little longer. It's keeping them a little fresher. So when they're on the field, they can play just a little harder. While, the opposite is happening for the other team. Their defenses are getting drained. They're losing explosion. They're losing hope along with it. First down after first down. While their offense is twiddling their thumbs on the sideline. That's how we beat these teams that have had the time to build around those quarterbacks like Ron talked about earlier in the season. That's how we were able to do it. We keep them on the sideline. We keep our defense fresh and chomping at the bit to chase these guys down the second they step on the field. B-Rob has been the catalyst. Taylor's underdog story is nice, but nothing beats a comeback story. And when do you get a comeback story out of a rookie? It usually doesn't happen. But Brian Robinson has one unlike anybody else. And he was already coming in here to prove Ron right for picking him. Then, he had to prove to everyone that he could overcome what happened to him and make sure that his story was an inspirational one. And it is. And I think it's elevating this whole team. People talk about, everything this team has had to overcome that from all the off-field stuff. But just like Ron beating cancer, all the negative stuff, and then this with B-Rob, this team overcomes the negative and uses it as motivation. And just think, Chase is fighting his way back too. He's gone from golden boy to hearing those whispers about all the guys that came after him in the draft now. So if he could tap into that B-Rob energy, we can get another boost to help carry us into the playoffs. If we want to do right by this, if we want to build off of Brian Robinson's energy, Ron needs to get proactive and change some things to make sure we get there. And make sure that when we get there, we can actually do something with it. And I think the first thing he needs to do is have a firm talk with Scott Turner. This week we saw what happens when we get away from what's been working, when we get away from that, heavy dose of Brian Robinson. I don't know why, but for some reason, Scott Turner went back to the early season game plan. And now I don't know if it's because, Ben St. Juste was out. They thought they were going to score a lot on us or something, and they thought that we might need the passing game. But Taylor Heinicke is not the guy that you can drop back with 40-plus times and win a game. We're lucky that we ended up with a draw and not a loss, because Taylor's not that guy. And I hope that Ron has enough confidence to go against all this misplaced praise that's being heaped on Heinicke and get ahead of this and make a move now instead of waiting for a loss to justify it. I think we've seen all that we need to. This was an extremely winnable game, even with this poor game plan, but we didn't win it. And a big part of that was because the difference in arm talent level. And we got to see just how great that was. This was a game where, even with the benefit of a considerably better rushing attack from Brian Robinson, who kept the defenses honest, we ended up with the same passing line from Heinicke that we saw from Wentz in week 1 against Jacksonville. Same passing line. Both quarterbacks dropped back 41 times, and they both completed 27 passes. Heinicke walked away with 275 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, while Wentz walked away with 313 and 4 touchdowns passing. Carson also had 3 more passing first downs and put our wide receivers in a position to pick up 27 more yards after the catch. And that's even after the tremendous individual efforts that Terry and Jahan gave, when they gave Heinicke his only 2 passing touchdowns in this game. But yes, Carson had 2 interceptions in that game. One being a freak Trayvon Walker play. He also had to deal with the fact that there was no rushing threat in week 1. And the defenses knew it. And it's a lot tougher to pass when the defense knows you are. But, I'm sure everyone can admit that Wentz, on average, takes better care of the ball than Heinicke and gets far more production when he is passing the ball. Now, people will hype up the late game Heinicke magic, but it's all the missed opportunities early in the game that tend to put us in a position to need that magic. Against the Giants, for as bad a shape as we were in, with a rookie 7th round cornerback starting, New York's secondary was in even worse shape, plus they were stacked up against our wide receiver group. The big plays we eventually saw from Terry, Curtis, and Jahan were there to be had all game long. This game could have easily looked like that Jags game. This could have easily been a 4 passing touchdown game. And the 2 or 3 plays that Taylor made with his legs, with the escapability that people were going to talk about, could have massively been outweighed by taking better advantage of far fewer passing opportunities, with more precise, high-impact pot shots off the run game. Something Carson does far better than Taylor. Just to further break down the comparison a little bit of the Giants and the Jags game, with that same stat line, but at a, micro view, just to show a little bit, of the efficiency there. Carson's long, completion in that game was 49. Taylor's was 29. It just shows you the difference of what you could get out of, putting Carson in with that game plan, heavy B-Rob, and then just a couple passes a game. I mean, we could get far better results that way, I think. And I really think at this point of the season that second round pick is pretty safe. Wentz has missed 7 games. I'm pretty sure that'll, we could make it to the NFC Championship game, and I don't think we catch back up to that 70 mark. So I think we need to bring Wentz back in and give him a chance to work in the offense that let us go on this win streak. Leaning on that power run game with a healthy B-Rob. Continuing on that success. We can take another step forward. B-Rob being that driving force and where this team's heading, we still need to do right by him. Like I said, tap into that energy and bring the team around him up to that level. Don't waste this momentum and the inspiration. Enhance it. Take some of the weight off of him with the passing game to keep up these winning ways. Not like this week. Like I said, do not put the ball in Taylor Heineke's hand 40 times a play. Don't even put the ball in Wentz's hand 40 times a game. Stick to that Philly type game plan, but with Carson at the helm, so that, we can get bigger returns from the passing opportunities we have. We still have 2 of the best run defense teams in the NFC ahead of us. The 49ers are going to go grit for grit with us. And the Cowboys, we want to play ball control against the Cowboys, and we're going to need to be able to get some first downs through the air at times to do that, so that our defense can be fresh and ready to pounce on all these mistakes that Dak's been making. And Carson gives us the best chance in those dialed up, play action shots. So I hope something can get done over this bye so we can make it to the playoffs and maybe to the championship game. And, make this a great time to be a fan in this new era of Washington football. An era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. No better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. I hope y'all are having a great holiday season. Please remember to hit that like button, ring the bell, and if you listen this long, I love y'all. Peace.